Hello YouTube and welcome to Stevetown. This is episode 3 and oh boy have we got a corker for you today. We've got a very special guest coming up later on to talk about something very cool that you can just about see in the background there. But as I say, more on that later. In the meantime, once again, very sincere and warm thank yous for all the lovely kind words on the last episode. Everyone in the comments being very supportive, lots of good suggestions, which we might talk about later. And also just a small apology for the longer gap between episodes there. I was on holiday, basically, so I was off for a week and progress was halted a little bit as a result. But don't worry, we still got a lot done, and there's some very cool stuff to show you. So, with all that said, let's crack on. Today we're not going to be doing any time lapse or anything, we're just going to jump straight in. So we are here in the plaza outside starting off, because as you might be able to hear, we've got some music now, and it literally just stopped as I started talking about it. Sorry, the next song's going to start. Basically, I make music, and the music I make is this kind of it's like 80s, 90s library music, like stock library music, the kind of music you might hear on like local news or infomercials, corporate training, game shows, that kind of thing. And it turns out it actually works kind of well for theme parks. So I just put together like a little kind of set of songs and added some grungy speaker effects to it. And it's just now it plays through, I think it's 4 tracks or something, it loops through them out here in the plaza. And yeah, I think it just works really well. Oh yeah, I don't think I mentioned this in the first episode, but I am currently using Maylene's petrol pump pay station thingies for ticket machines, because I couldn't find any on the workshop and I couldn't be bothered to make my own. So at some point I do need to replace these. And just broadly regarding this plaza, I don't know, having like progressed with the park quite a bit now, I'm now feeling like it just looks a bit crap. I think part of it is this like massive, this like expanse of grey concrete paving slabs. So I may need to just like rework this a little bit, but I still haven't decided exactly what's going to happen behind us here. I'm not sure if I want to build a car park. To be frank, I may not build a car park, but maybe once I get to the end and I'm like feeling like it needs a car park, I'll build a car park. I don't know. All of that will affect whatever happens here and then however this space feels in general. So that's something to revisit at a later date, I think. But anyway, enough about that. Let's proceed past the grungy music and into the park for the rest of today's tour. As you can see, I still haven't done anything with this pathway here. That is probably going to get left until the very end. We're going to go left today. And the first thing to point out actually is that I said in the last episode I was going to make some more awnings, and I did. Well, I made one more awning. And it's this kind of flat awning piece here. And yeah, it's not much of an upgrade, but it's just like a subtle improvement on the art shapes that were here before, because the art shapes are obviously in-game. I don't know exactly how thick they are, but they are way thicker than any like canvas awning I've ever seen. So it's just this like, just a really subtle kind of difference, which has a large effect, I think. And yeah, I'm using it on this building here as well. I've just sunk it into the wall and it gives it a smaller appearance. God, I'm going to keep clicking on stuff. I need to stop clicking on things. In the last episode I clicked on something and it was like selected for the next like 10 minutes of the video. Very annoying. Anyway, this corner building here I have not done much with yet. I've taken out the building that was there before, and we've got this kind of whip building on the go. Not exactly sure what it's going to be or what it's going to look like, but I think it's this kind of like hard awninged building on the corner here. I think is going to cap this off really nicely. And then over here we've got the Conifer Curbing Co. And this little chappy here is trying to figure out how he's going to fix this curb. I suspect it will be a simple case of just putting a new curb piece in. So I don't really know why he's having so much trouble with it. This little van is actually from Emax on Bro Nation. He's just made a little set of these on the workshop, and they are absolutely beautiful. They come with an assortment of different trailer attachments, and they are just very well done, very well executed. Well done, Emax. We don't have one of your Pinfaris in the park yet, but we've got the trucks, and you know, the Pinfari is still in the graveyard. It's waiting for its time to shine. But yeah, these trucks are amazing. You should definitely grab them. I will put a link in the description. They're just great for building little scenes like this, and you can fill out your backstage with them. And then moving on around towards this flat ride, which I do not know the actual name of. It's now got a name in game anyway, Hysteria, which is kind of... These sorts of flat rides usually have names like this that are like... It's just usually a word for some kind of mental distress, which is kind of questionable in this day and age maybe, but it's just the way it goes, isn't it? And yeah, we've got a different font for each letter on the sign. Not for each letter, but you know, it's cycling through these 3 different fonts here, which just sort of plays into the hysterical sort of, you know, it's all over the place vibe. And then the queue's just been finished off quite simply. Simple little kettle pen. Yeah. And then continuing over here, well, I am at the moment ignoring this rather large and obvious addition at the back here. We are going to get to that later. And my gosh, does it look magnificent. Around on the corner here, we've got this new little row of buildings, starting off with a really simple generic toilet with a sort of, they're going to walk through the wall, with a simple kind of... I wanted an almost kind of like mid-century... obviously it's nowhere near Frank Lloyd Wright, but it's like in that ballpark of like big protruding flat awning, flat shapes, stone column. It's sort of like it's playing in that space in heavy inverted commas. That was kind of what I wanted for it anyway. And it's just ended up being this nice dingy little toilet corner with someone's dropped their cup on the floor there. And we've got some first aid cabinets. Yeah. It's funny because you could remove this pillar here and it would just look so generic, but this pillar just gives it like a little touch of class on an otherwise very boring building. And then on the right side here, the swing ride has now got a name, Lake Swinger. And previously, I think in the first episode I showed this, and this kind of colour panel fence was running all the way around the outside here. And as I started adding these buildings in, it just became apparent that needed to go. Because it just felt... Sorry, that ride just started. I was like, what the hell is that noise? It's the crazy dubstep. Yeah, it became apparent that once I added these buildings in, it was just starting to feel a bit like a back alley or something with this like tall fence running like all the way along this side. So I've just got it on this like last bit in front of this planter here now, and then as the back for the name, the ride sign, and then I've just opened this up with a, you know, like a waist high border fence, and it just feels better, more natural, more open. And then as for this row of shops on the left, or not, they're not all shops, but the idea here was to create a sort of gradual and very subtle kind of transition from the sort of blanket generic style with the fudge shop through to the kind of western theming that we're going to get to around the corner up here. And that's kind of it is very gradual, and that's partially because sort of, you know, cowboy western main streets are very similar to sort of turn of the century, you know, Americana main streets. It's all sort of like Victorian inspired with these tall, flat-topped facades with kind of cornicing. But then it's just about, we've got the kind of introduction of subtle, like, you know, circular shaping, and then this one's got the little pointed top on it. And then just kind of warming up the colours a little bit. It's starting to look a bit dustier and a bit. And then this end building with this kind of awning and this little banister on the top here. It's just a gradual suggestion of what's around the corner. And as for what these buildings are, obviously we've got the fudge shop with more beautiful sign work from Hydro on the workshop. And these posters that I've got, there's one there and I think there's one over there as well. I just grabbed these off the workshop because I wanted some sort of big advertising poster to plaster up everywhere. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep them, but at the moment they are doing the job. It may be that at the end I do a pass on all the kind of poster space in the park and, go into Photoshop and create some custom Stevetown posters and stuff. But for the moment, Classic Coke is doing the job. And then, once we get up to the end here and we come around to the corner, you can see we are entering the town of Lockhorn, where our new ride, the Dust Devil, is situated. Oh, that's good timing. The ride's just coming out now. And before we enter this area properly, I am going to pass over to a little section with our guest for today, who's going to talk about this amazing coaster layout they built for me. Okay, it is time to welcome a very special guest, the person who built this absolutely beautiful coaster layout. Welcome, Kinderly, to Stevetown.
Hello.
Hello there. It's a pleasure to have you here.
It's a pleasure to be here, man.
For a bit of background, we both worked on Planet Bro Coaster, No Name Landia with Mike and John, and we've got a little collab park together, which is, I think we started it in like 2018 or something.
It was a very long time ago.
Yeah. And it's like
I think only one version has seen the light of day.
Yeah, it got seen in the first version got seen in like 2018, and then basically every year since then we've kind of restarted it, and then we run out of steam.
Yeah, that's my fault.
Listen, it's fully understandable. These things happen, and I feel like it was always
Indeed.
It was always for the better. It always ended up looking good, and then we would run out of steam.
Yeah, it usually is for the better, at least in my experience. That's not really an excuse. It's just kind of the way that I kind of work on stuff.
Yeah.
It's very iterative.
Yeah, I feel you. And sometimes just after you've like done the work, it's too raw to like tear it all down immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And then after a few months, you're like, oh yeah, this is all completely wrong. We should just do it this way instead.
Yeah, it's probably a lot more work to break everything than to just restart it, at least in my eyes.
Exactly. Maybe I'll throw up some pictures of that so people can see what we're talking about instead of us just talking vaguely about this thing that no one's seen. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. We are here to talk about this coaster, which you very kindly made for me. You did. I think you saw me kind of floundering in.
Yeah, you looked like you weren't really having a particularly good time.
Yeah.
So I slid into your DMs and was like, hey, do you want some help?
Yeah. I mean, I swear I wasn't actually like fishing in Bro Nation. I was just generally kind of expressing exhaustion with the coaster builder, which I just struggle with in general. But then when you slide into the DMs with an offer like that, I just can't. I can't say no, basically. And so what we've got here is a kind of Mack, I think it's called a Mack Xtreme Spinner.
Yeah, I think that's the model. They have a few spinner models.
Yeah, the main one that I was kind of wanted to rip off, not rip off because it's quite a different layout, but was Time Traveler.
The one at Silver Dollar City?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And I've since found out about another one in Europe called, I think it's called Ride to Happiness, which is a really weird name. And that's kind of a cool and weird ride. Anyway, that was kind of the like loose brief that I gave you.
Yeah, it doesn't really help that there's only two of them. So I shouldn't say it doesn't help. It actually gave me a lot more freedom to kind of do what I wanted. this isn't really based on one in particular. It's based on it's kind of an amalgamation of multiple Mack rides.
Right, so you're not just taking inspiration from the spinners. There's some other. This element here is fucking
there's
crazy.
There's some infusion of like Hyperia, some Copperhead Strike, and then it kind of does its own things a little bit too.
The only thing that I really wanted it to have was like a massive moment of hang time, which kind of happens. You kind of get it at the back, but you get it at the front here as well with this weird like I don't even know what you would call this.
It's like it's like a stall or something. I think that's what it's called on Hyperia. Yeah, and then you go into this like ejector wave turn.
Yeah.
And then it kind of mellows out a bit.
Yeah, you get this nice kind of. I imagine the G's on this like turn here would probably be quite intense.
Oh, probably.
And then you get a cool little airtime.
Yeah, the second launch is where all the airtime is at. I think it pulls negative G's there. And then it goes into this kind of... This is actually an element that you said that you wanted to keep from your original draft. This kind of like hang time dive loop thing.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And then I didn't really know what to do at the end. I kind of painted myself into a corner, so I just kind of decided to go wild with the spinning for a little bit.
Yeah.
It might be a little bit too much, if we're completely honest.
This middle car especially gets it really bad, I've noticed.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty funny. The front guy's like not spinning and the second one is just going mental.
But yeah, it's honestly a pretty simple layout. I was able to put it together in less than maybe a week.
It's super compact in the back half here. It's just kind of a series of overlapping turns, which is really cool.
Yeah, and that's kind of by design. You said that you wanted to leave some room for the backstage.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I was initially kind of worried about. I wasn't really sure how I was going to fit everything in here.
Yeah, I was surprised with how much room we ended up with there, to be honest. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with it. It's a pretty good ride to go out with. I don't think I'll get much more opportunity with this game.
Yeah, I know you're working on your Glen Echo project.
Which will not see YouTube. I'm just going to say that right now. It will not.
Well, not with that attitude, it won't.
No.
Yeah, I'll just have to keep getting you to do stuff and dragging you on here.
Oh, for sure. And if we ever continue the mountain park, we'll probably have to start a series on it.
Yeah, well, we were saying that that's definitely going to be something for Planet Coaster 2 at this point.
Oh, for sure.
So maybe that's in the future.
Yeah, Remnant, if you're listening, we would like you back, please.
I don't know if Remnant watches this. Well, I know Jash does, and I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, if we can persuade Remnant to come back, maybe we can get like a 2-for-1 with Jash as well.
Well, I might have already offered him something along those lines.
That sounds excellent. Yeah. All right. Well, you've absolutely bloody smashed it, mate.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's quite delightful. The second Kinderly coaster in the park, after the Woody that you built.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that one. I don't remember making that one.
Yeah, I don't know what you made it for or how I managed to get it from you, but it's there. And yeah, once again, many thank yous. You absolutely killed it. I'll put a POV in at the end of the video so that people can see how insane the spinning is.
The absolute insanity.
Yeah. And maybe we'll make a couple of people throw up everywhere, if we're lucky. All right, well...
Let's get the janitors on it then.
Yeah, indeed. Get them all out of retirement. But yeah, Kinderly, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, man.
No problem. And I'll catch you soon.
Yeah.
Okay, we are back here. Thank you again to Kinderly for his beautiful contribution. The coaster just came out so well. As I said to him, he absolutely smashed it. I am dead chuffed with what he did. And now I'm just going to show you through the rest of this little western area, which is called Lockhorn, and just tell you a little bit about what I did. What I wanted to do here was kind of bring across the generic kind of budgetary vibes that I had established in the rest of the park, and just put a kind of western coat of paint on it all. So nothing, none of the buildings are too extravagant. It's mainly just like really simple buildings, and then it's mostly about colours, materials, and then very light theming. The most prominent theming obviously is this giant windmill centerpiece. It's almost like a weenie, and then the rest of it is just like little odds and bits. We've got the cowboy boot on there, and around here this is inspired by Dollywood. It's just a little kind of wagon cart that I made, and it's fenced off behind a little chain link fence on a tarmac path. And yeah, it's just really light theming to sort of suggest western vibes, and along with everything else you kind of get the effect. And then we've also coloured the concrete pad here, giving it a nice red colour. It is still just a giant concrete pad, but they've spent a little bit more money and painted it red this time, or used red concrete. I don't actually know how that works. Probably you put some kind of pigment in the concrete mixture rather than just paint I don't know. Maybe someone in the comments will know how that concrete works. And on the right here, we've got Miss Melody's Smokehouse Fried Chicken quick service restaurant. The guests have got absolutely zero regard for the queue system or the benches or anything. But yeah, this was also, along with this little wagon over here, this was kind of inspired by a building at Dollywood as well. All of this and the little chimney I basically took from the Dollywood building, and then the rest I kind of had to completely rework it so that it would fit with what I wanted for this space here. I wanted something a little bit larger with way more seating, and the option to kind of have covered seating or outside seating. And obviously you can sit here and get a lovely view of the ride while you're eating your food. And yeah, it's really cool. Something that I'm actually was quite pleased with here was I used these decal pieces from the workshop to give the suggestion that these planters have been watered at some point recently, so the ground's all kind of wet underneath them. And then yeah, in the middle obviously we've got the weenie with the sign for the ride, which I just knocked together in Photoshop. I was just going for like a super cheesy kind of 90s noughties like cheesy ride sign with the little tornado with like evil eyes. It's a little bit like is it No Fear? They're like motorcycle brand, that kind of vibe. And then on the left side of this little plaza we've got an entrance to the gift shop here, and then we've got plazas within plazas here, because then there's a sort of sub plaza for the entrance and the exit to the ride, which has also got the photo area where you can come and look at the photos, and then another entrance to the gift shop where you can buy the photos and all of your screen mounts and all that good stuff. Something worth pointing out here actually is that I've been watching a bunch of Twin Palms recently, the Remnant and Jash series, which for some reason I had not watched until now. And it is excellent for many reasons. But there's an early point in one of the early episodes where they're talking about having these little kind of like grips on the front of steps. So I basically stole that idea from them. And it's just like one of those tiny little bits of realism that like really enhances the whole thing. It's subtle, but it makes a big difference. And then yeah, we've also got the queue to the ride starting here. The main feature of the queue is this kind of footbridge that comes up over the launch, which is just, there's just always something joyous about a footbridge, isn't there? Like, there's something about being like at the same height as a tree, like seeing a tree from this angle is kind of joyous. Being over the top and like so close to the roller coaster is joyous. It's just kind of like one of those simple things. Again, it's a simple thing that makes a big difference. And yeah, obviously you just get like a really good view of the back half of the ride from up here as well. Yeah, it's very cool. And then we descend here and we come through this kind of slightly claustrophobic tunnel area, which leads underneath here. And if we get we've got a train coming here. Yeah, when you time it right, you get this great interaction moment here where the train goes overhead into the second launch. And then the rest of the queue is just really straightforward. We've got a couple of castle pens that aren't currently in use. And then we have this cool kind of simple section here which leads alongside the second launch. There's a little kind of just to break the monotony of the straight line, you get to go around the outside of this tree. And then we've got some hashtag theming, just a little kind of steam engine or something, and a spade. It's just the sort of very light theming that you would find in a generic amusement park. And all around the queue path I've tried to put in these kind of access gates for maintenance and ride operators, or in the case of an emergency evacuation. And then we just lead up into the station along here. The station, I've formatted it so that it sort of works in the way that the guests queue. I think in real life this would presumably actually be split. These would all be split in two again, so that you had, 2 people going at the front and 2 in the back. But because in Planco they sort people into groups of 4, I've just split it into 3 lanes here. And then we've got the little ride operator booth over here. She's got a little cup of coffee. And we've got the hold on to your hat sign. And on the back right here we've got, I'm sure it normally lets me go across here. No, there we go. Back right we've got the wheelchair lift for disabled access. Out the back here we've got the transfer track and the little maintenance shed, storage shed. We've got some lockers here. And that is about it. Obviously then you can come down the steps, as I said before. Maybe what I'll do at some point is take some photos. The photo point for the ride is, you can just about see it there. It's after the airtime hill for the second launch. It kind of comes down up here before you go into the big hang time moment. So maybe I'll take some photos from there and stick them on in the custom media folder to put here. And then the rest of the area over here is kind of incomplete while I'm figuring out exactly what I'm going to do. We've got this toilet building on the corner, and then there's just a nice little sort of picnic area here for people who've brought their own lunches. You can sit next to the coaster. You get the cool views, and sort of similarly around this pathway as well here, there's this really nice moment here of interaction where the ride comes sort of nice and close to the pathway. And that is about the size of it. In the next episode, we are going to have another guest builder. We don't reveal who it is yet or what they're doing, but they are building a ride that's going to go in this sort of area here. Anyone who's kind of a bit of a detective on Bro Nation, and who's, fairly observant, may have already pieced together what's going to be here. Or be able to piece it together now that I've told you. And then over on this side, ignore this is just me trying to figure out how to do this ride that's going to go over here, but this is a disaster, as is often the case with my coasters. But there's going to be a Vekoma family boomerang over here, and this little area is just going to have a light kind of boathouse theme, and that's to play off. In the original World of Steve Park there was a Vekoma boomerang, just a normal boomerang, which had this kind of boathouse theme. So we're doing that again, except this time it's going to be a family boomerang. And that will basically leave this area here. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do there yet. Someone in the comments on one of the previous episodes did suggest a dark ride, which could be cool. I'm not entirely sure I've got the patience to build a dark ride interior, although if I have the right idea that gets me hooked, then maybe. But otherwise, I need to think on what I'm going to do over there. But as always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And, oh my god, that pathing sea fighting was horrible. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a great rest of your, whatever it is, existence. Treat people with kindness and respect. Have a good one. And I will see you in the next episode. Bye!
Yeah.